Hello model car fans, welcome to the Muscle Car Modeler. My name is Revell, and this week's build I'm featuring here, this is a 1960 Corvette. Now there wasn't a whole lot of changes in the Corvette line going from 59 to 60. There were a couple of options that were changed and some of the specs changed a little bit. But all in all, it was pretty much identical and very little updates, where it seemed like almost every year there was some serious changes, especially when you went to 58 body style. And 59, they cleaned it up and smoothed it all out. But 60, they really didn't change hardly anything from the outside. There were a couple of optional changes. And then, of course, in 61, the whole back half was remodeled. So the 60 is kind of forgotten. Even, kind of so in scale model form as well. But being that there's so little differences between the two, and we'll get into that part in a little bit here. But officially, this one is a 1960. For 1960, they produced 10,261 Corvettes. They were all roadsters or convertibles. Some of the colors had changed. So for 1960, Tasco Turquoise was available. Horizon Blue was available. Honduras Maroon was available. Roman Red, which was very popular. Ermine White, which was produced the most in that color with 36%. Sateen Silver. Cascade Green, which is the rarest one. Only 140 cars were produced, or a little over 1%. And Tuxedo Black, which was not quite as popular with 12%, but still many of those. But white was the most produced, red at 14%, Honduras Maroon at 11%. So quite a number produced in multiple colors. I really like Honduras Maroon myself. I did my other one in Cascade Green, which is a note for 1960. Cascade Green was a metallic color. They had the same name in 57 and 56, but it was not metallic. But I did build that car and did a feature on that and built that on the channel. So that's my newest one, where this is my oldest one here. So a couple other interesting specs that go along with this 60 Corvette. First is this curb weight. This thing weighed in at 3,090 pounds as far as shipping weight with passengers and everything. 2 passengers estimated 150 pounds. You were looking about 3,300 pounds. So pretty light car, but that's mostly due to the fiberglass body and the compact nature. Frame and suspension wise, your typical, Chevy frame at the time. X frame and everything, which, on the underside here. So X frame architecture, and the suspension was kind of basic. Nothing really advanced in any of the suspension for any of these Corvettes of this era, the C1s. And I mentioned that in other videos. So really nothing in that area since 1949, really. It wasn't until the 63 Corvette that they really had its own suspension and frame and everything. But when it came to the engines, though, they were all 283s. And depending on how you look at it, there's kind of like 5 motors. The specs are kind of goofy in that. All of them are 283 engines. All V8s, of course, but the standard engine, which was a 4-barrel, made 230 horsepower and 4,800 RPM and 300 foot-pounds of torque. Next step up, which is what I kind of did in this one, the 4-barrel 283 was 245 horsepower and 300 foot-pounds of torque. But there was a special camshaft option that you could get for this, which was kind of like the Duntov cam. Really finding specs on that cam was kind of unusual. I could find the part number for it, but I was just kind of curious about lift and duration and stuff, kind of geeking out a little bit on it. But I really wasn't finding much. You start to Google Corvette camshaft and everything comes up, so it kind of gets kind of goofy. I'm sure it's in one of my books, but I don't remember the specs on it. But with that, it jumped to 270 horsepower and 285 foot-pounds of torque. And the fuel injection engine, kind of the same thing. With the regular cam, 275 horsepower and 305 foot-pounds of torque. Pretty amazing out of a 283. But with that special cam, it jumped to, I read 2 specs on this. 315 horsepower and 295 foot-pounds of torque, or 290 horsepower. So I'm not really sure which one really applied, because both numbers are kind of out there and I'm not sure which one's the real number. But it gets a little confusing. But another thing geeking out on these was the tranny. The automatic tranny, which was only the power glide, It had a 182 ratio first gear, and of course the straight 1-1 drive for second gear. And with the automatic, you got a 355 axle standard in the rear diff. Now, if you went to the manual trannies, the 3-speed had a first gear of 221, second gear was 132, and then third gear was straight 1-1. But in the 4-speed, this is where it's kind of funny with the numbers, is where they added the gear. First gear was 220, barely a difference there. Second gear was 166. There's the added gear right there. Third gear was 131, really not much different from second gear in the 3-speed. And then, of course, fourth was straight 1-1 ratio. So it's kind of funny that I was wondering where the ratios changed, but it looks like they really just added another gear and called it second, and second became third, and third became fourth when you compare the two transmissions. But the manual started with a 370-to-1 standard ratio, and 411 and 456s were available. So it's kind of fun to kind of read into that. And then you get into the options. Heater was available, AM radio was an option, parking brake. Windshield washers, that was an option. You don't consider that an option nowadays. A temperature controlled fan, as far as the coolant fan, there was a straight drive one, and then there was the thermostatic. So the thermostatic one was an option. Black wall tires were standard and white walls were option. Sunshades became an option in 1960. Like, this model kit doesn't have sunshades. And a lot of these Corvettes, I used to think were missing them, and then I read that 59 and older, sunshades were not technically available. 60, they were the first year, so when I did my 60, I put them on there. But only half of the cars in 1960 got them. So 5,000 cars got the sunshades as an option. Not too many got the Power Glide. Most were manual trannies. So 1,700 got the automatic. Almost all of them were the manual trannies, whether they're 3-speed or 4-speed. And then also, the standard gas tank was almost 17 gallons. It was like 16-something gallons. But there was an optional big tank, which was 24 gallons. Not quite the same as the later tanker cars, which jumped to 36-gallon big tanks. But in this one, a larger tank was available at 24 gallons. Not sure how many of them got that, as it was more of a racer thing. Took up some more of your trunk or spare tire. So not sure if a spare tire was available at that point. But this one, let's go ahead and take this outside, and we'll see how this looks in the sun. It's a pretty color. It's a custom color. This isn't built stock, obviously, as I just kind of had fun with this one. But we'll take it outside and see how it looks in the sun, and then we'll go more over it in a minute. Well, here we are out in the sun here. It's a morning sun in Arizona, so it's at a different angle than I'm used to. But here we are checking out this Chezoom Teal that I sprayed on this particular one. Airbrushed Model Master paint. And really like this color combo, even though it's not a factory color combo. Just looks really good on this body style. Now, this is an older paint job from 2010, as I had mentioned. But came out really nice, and I really just like with the white coves and everything there. Couldn't tell you what white I used there, but she's looking pretty good here. And here I am using BG's rotisserie, so showing this off here. Just kind of having some fun with it. So thank you again, BG, for this. So anyway, here we are, just glistening on this 1960 Corvette here. It's rocketing around here. You can tell it's not exactly sitting flat, but that's okay. There she is. All right, we'll head back inside. All right, you guys, you sharp-eyed viewers will recognize this is, of course, the Revell Monogram 1960 Corvette. This is the multi-piece body, and I had it, and looking it over and researching the car, I had found out, while it says it's a 1960 Corvette, and I added the rear plate, and then the front thing is 1960. The only difference between a 59 and 60 when it comes to visible differences is the seat pattern. So if you look at the pleats in the seat there, right in the middle, 59 is horizontal, 60 they're vertical. So this seat is really a 59 upholstery, not a 60 upholstery. So once I had realized that, and Revell Monogram had their 59 kits, and it's a much better kit compared to this one, the Pro Modeler one, which I'll throw that box art up. I enjoyed building that, and I converted that one into a 60. This multi-piece body, a little bit more challenging to build. Doesn't have the stock wheels. It has these baby moons here. You can kind of see the seam right here where I'd filled it in, and then it actually lines up somewhere around here too, getting the sides on, getting the front on. So getting it all to blend and look pretty good, it's a bit challenging. So I actually challenged myself to actually build this one day. I just was in the mood and was feeling a bit more crafty. So I decided that I was going to build this. And so I started gluing the body together and doing the work to it. And then the exhaust tips come through the mufflers, or the bumpers here, which, you know, in this kit aren't shown very well, so just black those out. I've seen, you know, builds where that's missed. And then since I was going, you know, kind of custom day 2 with it, as you would say, and it comes with these Michelin TRX tires, I kind of left those as well. But that's what was in the kit. So I just kind of had a little bit of fun detailing it, painting it. This is Testor's Chezoom Teal, and that's what I painted it, and just kind of had some fun with it. It's from 2010, so this is about 15 years old now. And this hood is a little bit of a pain to open here. There we go. I kind of have to push down on the front to get it to pivot, and then it'll open. It's got some chips and some scratches as it's tight fitting, and even though if I clear coated this one like I do now, this one wouldn't fit. I really have to sand and clean it all up. This is the dual quad motor in here. It's not the fuel injection. That's one of the reasons why my other 60, I put it as a fuel injection. It had that engine in it anyway, but this one, it's the dual quad. So I did the cast valve covers there, which are, you know, all of this is what's in the kit. So just kind of detailed it. You really can't see the carburetors. I can't remember if it's got 1 4-barrel or 2, but the way the air cleaner is made, it's got studs on front and back. So kind of hinting it's the dual quad, but it's got the dimple in the middle. The air cleaner on the single 4-barrel only has the 1 dimple in the middle with the stud, and I believe the dual quad one only has 2, not 3. So it kind of looks like it's a tri-power, but it's not. Tri-power wasn't available in the Corvette, but it does have the manual tranny here. Whether it's a 3-speed or 4-speed is kind of hard to say, but you know, just made myself build it and kind of enjoyed it and had a little bit of fun with it and didn't stress the details. Some of the seams are kind of hidden. So this one, it's a bit of a challenge to build. So not one of the worst ones. It's kind of hard to say, you know, which one is one of the worst ones to build, but you know, because AMT and MPC have their Corvettes as well. But the top one for me is the newer tool Pro Modeler 58/5859. I'll throw those box arts up, but I showed the box art for this earlier on. So this is the multi-piece body, so a couple of different versions of it. But it's really a 59, even though the bumper says 60, but the seat pattern is 59. But anyway, still looks good. Still don't mind showing it off to you. So showing this one off to you, I like to see some of my older builds and how I progressed through all of these builds. And like I said, this one's about 15 years old. I, you know, got back into modeling in 2000, 2001, somewhere right around there. So by the time I built this one, I was 9 years back into it and had many builds under my belt, but just wasn't really all that motivated into actually building it, as I found it a bit more challenging, and there were better kits. So it's kind of funny to think that way, but that's what it was at the time. You know, now I'll take some of these just to show that they can be built much nicer if you take your time and work on it. They will definitely advance your skills. So, you know, there's a bunch of kits that fall in that category as well. But for Revell Monogram, this is one of them that kind of falls in the harder to build category compared to some of the later ones, and especially with the detail. So definitely glad the 5859 kit is out there, and the 62 kit. That's another really nice kit that I haven't built, but I've really thumbed through it. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, subscribing, and all your comments and everything. I really do appreciate it. And you guys, you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next time.